Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar, and thank you, Nomad Guide, for the invitation. I'm Margarida Torres. I'm an immigration lawyer. I don't know if you are listening well. Just one moment. Okay. So I will start. Thank you very much for joining this webinar, and thank you, Nomad Guide, for the invitation. Today I will talk about the new nationality changes and the real impact and who it affects. I'm Margarida Torres, an immigration lawyer since 2012. I work 16 years in one of the top Portuguese law firms, and I was a partner there, coordinating the immigration team for 11 years with a team of 15 people just doing this every day. And then created my own law firm with 2 colleagues. And around 2 years ago, I created my own project, MEMT Legal. I will share here the presentation, so it will be easier for you to follow the presentation. Just one moment. Before moving on the presentation, I would like to mention that I have here some of my clients, as well as clients of some of my colleagues, and therefore I would like to clarify that this legislative process is still developing, and I will be sharing my opinion as it stands at this moment, which not necessarily mean it will remain the same once I have access to the final version of the law and the regulation of the law. It is also important that you consult your own lawyers regarding their views on these matters, as their opinions may differ from mine. Each case is unique, and your lawyer will have a better understanding of your specific situation. So I will start the presentation. Is Portugal becoming harder for citizenship? Yes, the residence requirement is increasing. New eligibility criteria are being introduced, and there will be no transition period. We will have an immediate impact. This is not a minor update, but a structural shift on the nationality rules. What actually will change? The residency requirement increases from 5 to 10 years, except for citizens of Portuguese-speaking countries and European member states, which will be 7 years. Time will count from the issuance of the residence card, not the application submission, which can delay eligibility. Requirements expanded, and applicants must meet stricter legal, cultural, and integration criteria. So overall, the process will be longer, stricter, and more selective. The minimum, what are the most significant changes? The minimum legal residence period will double, significantly extending the path to citizenship. So now the time counts from the residence application, and with the new law, only after the residence card is issued. So the administrative delays will directly impact the eligibility timing. So what used to take 5 years to apply for Portuguese nationality can now take around 12 to 14 years, counting with all the delays of FIMA. So we will have longer timelines, a stricter process, and more delayed access to nationality. Some lawyers have suggested a legal argument that time accrued before the law enters into force may still count. I'm not sure if you are listening well and seeing the presentation, but I think it's okay, right? Okay, thank you. So we have here an interpretation that some lawyers have suggested as a legal argument that we can use in the future. that the time accrued before the law enters into force may still count based on principles such as protection of legitimate expectations or acquired rights. For example, an application submitted on December 2021 and resident card issued on December 2025. And if the law enters into force on May 2026, the applicant already has 4 years and 4 months, not just 4 months, according to the new law. I need to check the final version of the law and the regulation of this law to have a final decision on my opinion, because right now I believe this it's only an interpretation that can be used, but not expressly supported in law. So it looks like we need to require litigation to confirm this interpretation, and there is no guarantee that the authorities will accept it administratively. So at this stage, this remains a theoretical legal argument that, of course, can be used in the future, but right now, in my opinion, not a secure strategy. But we will see when we will have access to the final version of the law and the regulation. The new eligibility criteria will be the knowledge of Portuguese culture, history and national symbols, understanding of Portuguese political system and institutions, awareness of the fundamental rights and duties as a Portuguese citizen, and formal commitment to the democratic principles, no sanctions from European Union or United Nations. So citizenship is no longer just time-based, but it's about meeting other new criteria that shows stronger connection with the country. So we will have an unexpected law and more restrictive, and no grandfathering for residency holders, no transition period, no grace period, and no exceptions. No one was counting on this. Unfortunately, the rules will apply immediately and to everyone. There are still key uncertainties. So the implementation regulations have not yet been published. The government has 90 days after the publication of the new nationality law to amend the nationality regulation to ensure it aligns with the new legal provisions. So these may clarify procedural rules, interpretation of the way to count the time for the legal residence, and practical application of new requirements. There is some possibility, but not certainty, that regulations may introduce more favorable verifications. We have to wait and see. This has been a long legislative process, but now reaching the final stage. We started in June 2025 with the proposal of new nationality law that was submitted in October 2025 with the final and global approval in the parliament, and on the 5th of December 2026 the Constitutional Court pronounces about the law, and on December 2025 the presidential veto based on the unconstitutional rules, and on April 2006 the final approval in the parliament. This has been a long process, and we have now around 2 weeks in principle to be concluded. So what happens next? The president has 20 days counting from April 13 to make a decision. So can do it anytime right now, and can promulgate or issue a political veto. At this stage, the Constitutional Court review is no longer an option. The deadline has passed. The Constitutional Court review could have delayed the process, but this path is now closed. It is important to note that the amendments to the Penal Code were referred to the Constitutional Court by PS, but this referral doesn't affect the nationality law. This raised some confusions and in the media too, but we are talking about two different decrees. and the decree about the changes of the nationality law was not referred to the Constitutional Court for revision. So in case of promulgation, the law is sent for publication in the official gazette, Diário da República. The publication typically takes 1 to 5 days, and the law enters into force according to the proposal that was approved in the day after the publication. If a political veto is issued, the law returns to the Parliament. The Parliament may override the veto in an absolute majority. If overridden, the President must promulgate within 8 days. The veto would cause delay, but not necessarily prevent the law to enter into force. Who will be affected? Those who already submitted nationality applications are protected under the current legal framework, and the new law will not be applicable. Regarding new nationality applicants, they will be fully subject to the new law and the new criteria. So even new applicants who hold residence cards and new applicants that don't have yet the residence cards but have submitted the residence applications. So what can be done? At this moment, media interventions, and later when we have the final draft of the law, individual or collective legal actions. We still have available in our law, in the immigration law, that didn't suffer any changes. I have here people that want to say something. Just a moment. For questions, I will reply at the end, okay? Just to conclude the presentation first. So I was saying that after 5 years, it's possible to request the permanent residence. Doesn't require the maintenance of the original investment and requires limited physical presence in Portugal, only 7 days per year, because it will be a specific permanent residence. The permanent resident is not equivalent to citizenship, and with the permanent resident, there is no European citizenship rights and neither political rights in Portugal, and doesn't fulfill the main goal of most investors. I'm aware of this. However, it can help with practical issues. The permanent residence will be granted for 5 years, so allows restructuring or exiting the investment, eliminates dependency risks, for example, children aging out or marital status changes that could be a problem for the ones that wanted to renew the residence cards and don't comply anymore with the dependency requirements or single status requirement. So with the permanent residents, they can apply by without the dependent on the investors. So based on the 5 years of residence card, and also reduces the renewal frequency because it will be valid for 5 years. An additional note, we have 2 types of permanent residents, and I believe that is important to highlight this because for a normal resident, they aim at charges around 260 euros, and for a golden permanent residence, since it's a specific residence that is not needed to really live physically in the country, it will be 8,800 euros. Some applicants are considering submitting nationality applications before meeting all requirements. The law requires all eligibility criteria to be met at the time of application, and submitting without meeting them carries a significant legal risk of rejection. The understanding of public authorities to date has been in this direction, and this issue is only now arising due to the imminent changes to the law. And the legal doctrine established by the Constitutional Court's ruling of December 15, 2025, seems to consider that legal requirements could be verified at the time of the final decision rather than at the time of submission. Despite this, there is no certainty that this interpretation will be followed by the public authority responsible for assessing the application. In my view, and also according to the interpretation of this Constitutional Court's ruling, I consider that formal mistakes, incorrect information, and missing formalities in a document may be corrected during the process. However, the absence of substantive requirements or preconditions that concede the right to apply for the Portuguese nationality, such as the required years of legal residence, may not be possible to ratify during the process. That said, there may be some flexibility from the authorities in approving these applications based on the principle of useful effect of administrative acts, but this approach may, however, raise some concerns regarding fairness and unequal treatment. So we cannot predict right now if in 2-3 years the public entities will be flexible and approve this kind of processes. We hope so, but you should be aware of all the risks associated with processing under these circumstances. So Portugal is becoming more selective, but remains strategically attractive. The process is longer and the requirements are stricter. Planning ahead is more important than ever, but we still have the permanent residence as an intermediate path before apply to the citizenship after 10 years. So the permanent residence provides almost all the rights in Portugal as the citizenship, unless the political rights and the European rights that the passport can grant. But I believe that this investment program remains still flexible, and Portugal continues to offer a unique pathway to citizenship without physical presence requirements. So thank you very much for your presence. I hope you could see everything, and I'm open to answer any questions you may have. You have also my contacts here. I'm reading so many messages. I have here 35 questions. Probably it's better to send me email. I can answer some of them, but it will be difficult to answer all these questions probably. There are said the cost. Okay, here the permanent residents, the price of the card of 8,840 euros, it's per person, not only for the main applicant. How do we get answer from IRN whether they will accept early citizenship applications? I already talked with them, and right now their understanding is that all the requirements must be met in the moment of the submission of the application. Until now, they don't have other restrictions to decide in a different way, according to the information I got. But we don't know if in 2 years or 3, if they will change their understanding. Given uncertainty, would you still recommend early application if 5-year time period not met? This, of course, it's important to confirm with your lawyer the understanding. In my opinion, you have to balance the risk in waiting to request the nationality with all the documentation and all the requirements according to the new law, the 10 years, or try to submit as soon as possible before the deadline of the 5 years, but with the strong risk to be rejected because it's a substantive requirement that I'm not sure if it will be approved by the public entity under the principle of the conservation of the acts. Is there any other risk of submitting an early application? I heard you may be banned from applying again for 2 years. No, there is no risk, and they will not reject immediately the process. They will notify of a project of rejection, and then we will have some days to reply, what we call audiência dos interessados. And in this case, we need to check what are the grounds for the project of rejection and see if it's easy or not to overcome. Otherwise, and according to the arguments of the notification, otherwise we can give up on that process and then in the following day start a new one. So there is always the possibility to giving up. If we put a new process with the same grounds, there is a possibility that the public entities will not analyze the second one based on the same grounds, but the grounds will be different because we will have a different law in force. But to be on the safe side, we can always give up on the old request and start a new application in the future. Are you advising clients to apply now before they qualify, just in case the authorities are flexible? This already answered. You note that there is a legal risk to apply early. Can you explain what risk? The risk is the risk of rejection, like losing the legal fees, losing the administrative costs, but you also will have the risk to wait 10 years to apply for the Portuguese nationality with additional criteria. Can the laws change again regarding the requirements for nationality and citizenship? Of course, the laws can change in the future, but it's only for future cases. So the ones that already have pending processes for nationality purposes, of course, they will be safeguarded as they were with this new law that was approved in the Parliament, because the laws cannot be retroactive. Anyone that has just recently applied, they will definitely not be grandfathered in any way. By the new law and by the what is written expressly in the new law, we don't have the final version of the law and regulation, but according to what was approved, no, there is no grandfather's clause. What can be done is to go to the court and fight for the acquired rights and legitimate expectations. Can I apply for permanent residency 5 years from application submission date or 5 years from obtaining temporary residence card? For permanent residence, it was always counting from the issuance of the first residence card, not application. Application, it was only foreseen in the nationality law, and the residents and permanent residents are ruled by a different law, which is the immigration law. Our 5-year requirement in general. Okay. Here we have a participant that complied already with the 5 years requirement in January and just finished the language requirement and are waiting to receive the certificate. In this case, with the birth certificate and criminal records, if all the documents are ready to be submitted, I believe this will be only the lack of a formal requirement. So it's possible to submit with the proof of the conclusion of the language course, and then can provide later the certificate when receives the certificate. Of course, I don't know if they will what will be the decision. I'm just giving my personal opinion on this, and according to my experience of different nationality processes in the past. I had cases that they notified to submit apostille or a new criminal record and or clarify any information, and then we provide this information and they approved. Is it true that you are required to confirm that you have met the minimum 5-year permanent residency requirements before you submit your citizenship application online? Yes, you should prove that you already met these criteria. It's a very important criteria. Sorry, some questions are the same, so I'm trying to select the ones that are different. What is the minimum stay requirements for the standard permanent residence card holders? So for golden visa, it's 7 days per year. And for a normal permanent residence, the person cannot be out of the country 24 months consecutive, neither 36 months non-consecutive. Could you please comment on the status of people who applied in 2020 but haven't had their biometric appointments yet? I consider that this is very risky because you don't have yet a residence card. And when we fulfill the form for nationality, we need to write the number of the residence title, the date of issuance, and the date of validity of the residence card. And we cannot declare false declarations. We cannot invent a number of the residence card, neither issuance date, neither validity. So I believe in this case is that the person still doesn't have a residence card, it's a high risk of rejection. Do I understand correctly that golden visa permanent residency can lead to citizenship also when the golden visa holder will not reside in Portugal? Yes, this is correct. You can apply for permanent residence and it will be valid for 5 years. And then after you meet the new requirements according to the new law, you can apply for the Portuguese passport. I have to clarify here one thing. The 5 years counting from the submission application of the golden visa, this criteria, it's only under the current law in force. So if you apply for the citizenship right now, when the law changes, the criteria will not be this. It will be 10 years and in principle, counting from the issuance of the first residence card. But the regulation of the new law will clarify in detail the way of counting what is considered the legal residence for 10 years. So we have to wait to see what is the final and correct way to count. I have submitted citizenship application in late January 2026, fulfilled 5 years, but no residence cards have been received. Other requirements are fulfilled, whether I will be subject to old law and will not be affected by new law. In this case, the Constitutional Court had a similar situation and it was approved in this case, under the current law, the old law. Let's have hope that they will keep this understanding. When I get permanent residence, I only need to be in Portugal 7 days per year, correct? Correct. So if I decided to spend most of my time in Spain or France, not my home country, is there allowed under the rules of residency in Portugal and also the regulations of EU? Exactly so. For the permanent residents, the requirements of stay are only 7 days. Or is the current biometrics have already been submitted? What is the current waiting time for residency permits if biometrics have already been submitted? This is a very difficult question because they are improving and trying to speed up the analysis of the processes. They are hiring more people. I have different situations, could be 1 year, but in the past, I have clients that waited for much more time, 1 year and a half, 2 years. Regarding the new requirements for nationality, is there a template such as cultural, constitutional, historical language? We don't know yet. We need to have this clarified by the regulation of the law. And in that moment, we will see what will be the specific criteria to meet these requirements. The regulation of the law will clarify all in detail what the law is foreseeing. Are there other legal routes for people very close to 5-year mark and having fulfilled all requirements? No, only submitting the process under the old law, the current law. could try to safeguard the rights under this law, and if it will be rejected, it will be the easiest way to fight in the court than if you apply later when the new law will be enforced. Because when the new law will be enforced, according to what was approved, for sure will be applicable the 10 years requirement, and also the new requirements, the criteria to show more connection with the country. Approximately when will we receive the rejection notification? Could be 2 years or 3 years, but in normal situations in the past, could be in 15 days, the preliminary rejection, but they are not analyzing the processes so soon, so I believe it will be much more later, like in 2 years. Is there a way to stop our golden visa application now? Can we rescind it from AIMA? You can stop your golden visa application when you want. How does it take over 10 years? As you stated, it can take 12 to 14 years. This is because the 10 years, instead of counting from the submission of the application, it will be counted, in principle, we have to check the final versions of the law and regulation, but it will be in principle counted from the issuance of the first residence card. And the first resident card sometimes takes 2 years to be granted, and in some cases took almost 4 years. Of course, they are improving a lot, and don't believe for the new applications that will take so long to get the first residence card. Could be 1 year, 1 year and a half. But I'm telling the worst case scenario. So you can make a more accurate decision. So could be between 11 years to 14 years to be able to apply for the Portuguese citizenship. But in the meantime, after 5 years of the first residence card, you can always apply for permanent residence. Applying for the permanent card remains as from application date. No, from the issuance of the first residence card. If our real 5-year comes before the early application result, we cannot apply again with the new law, right? When we get rejection in 3 years from now, not complying with the 5 years requirement, we cannot sue, but we cannot have 2 applications, and even when we feel 5 year, we cannot rightfully apply and then sue. I'm not understanding very well this question, but you can always give up on you can appeal for the decision of rejection, or you can give up and start a new citizenship process based on the new rules and providing all the documentation needed and comply with all the requirements. Under the current law, when does the 5 years start? From the submission online of the application. Here it's a specific question, from submission of application or the payment date. It's usually the next day. Of course, the safer date will be the payment of the analysis fee of FEMA, because you can submit the application and never pay the analysis fee, and they can consider that the person gave up on the application and doesn't have interest anymore on this. So it will be better to count from the date of the payment of the analysis fee of FEMA. I have no residence card available, but already fulfilled the 5 years requirement. Do you think my citizenship application will be rejected, even I have all requirements fulfilled? Of course, you should contact your lawyer on this situation and can have a different understanding from me. But my suggestion here, it would be to submit a declaration explaining the situation and the delays of FEMA, so that when you fulfill the form without any numbers, issuance date, that you need to declare different thing, you can be protected that you are not doing false declarations, and explaining that you did that just to be able to submit the process, but that you fulfilled all the requirements, but due to the delays of FEMA, were not possible to receive the residence card. I thought the permanent residents had no stay requirement. Is that the case, or is also 7 days per year like the initial residence? In fact, this is a good question, because when they changed the law to clarify how it will be the permanent residence for the golden visa holders, they changed the law in this article in the sense to make an exception in the part of the physical presence in the country, because the program is like this, only 7 days per year, but they didn't erase the other needed requirements like accommodation and means of subsistence, neither clarify if it was needed to stay in the country 7 days per year. So to be on the safe side, my advice is to keep coming 7 days per year, as in the golden visa, because I believe it was their intention. Regarding the subsistence means, I had a conversation in AIMA about this, and they told me that they will be flexible on these two requirements that were not clarified for the golden visa holders and the golden permanent residents. They didn't change this in the law. So they told me that can be verified, the part of means of subsistence, because you prove that you invested a lot of money in the country. And regarding the accommodation, that for a normal residency, it's a rental agreement, for example, of at least 1 year. In the case of the golden visas, could be hotel sleep, and a declaration if you stay in the house of some friends in Portugal, a declaration from them, or a real estate investment if this is the case. So it's possible to overcome that two requirements that are still established in the law. And regarding the state requirements, to be on the safe side, 7 days per year, it's better than not coming to Portugal. I'm the main applicant. How will these changes for my children who are 16 and 21 years old? If the question is because they will become adults, after 5 years of having the residence card, they can apply by themselves to the permanent residence directly. So even if they are not dependent on you, it's feasible to apply for the permanent residence. And after more 5 years to the citizenship. If there are no appointments available for permanent residents, which could happen, as we were facing in the past, the lack of appointments for renewals and for the collection of biometric data. Of course, we have the possibility to sue AIMA in court, to chase AIMA as much as we can by email, going there in person, writing in the complaint book. But you have the right to apply for the permanent residence and keep trying this. Otherwise, you can have this right, proving that it's the lack of appointments from AIMA. And for sure, even if they delayed, they will give an appointment. The only thing is that you cannot withdraw the investment until you have the appointment for PR and the PR in your hands. I waited 3 years for a biometric appointment and my son has not received his. Will he age out if he doesn't get a residence, or he will be protected? He will be protected because the family members will always have the same validity card as the main applicant. So what could happen is that you will receive the residence card first with a specific validity, and when your son receives the residence card, cannot use for so long because could be 1 year later, so it only will have 1 year more of validity of the card. At least this has been the practice until now. The family members will always receive a residence card with the same validity of the card. We have a real estate golden visa, 5 years, completing in December 2026. Can we sell our real estate without risking our temporary card? No, you cannot sell the investment if you are in the golden visa program and renewing every 2 years, or 3 years in this case of the real estate. Regarding the extension of the golden visa funds, you need to ask the fund where you invested if they will be able to extend the duration of the fund or not, because this will depend on the fund. Is A2 level language test needed for golden visa permanent residency? Yes, it's needed. It's one of the criteria. Do you have to stay 7 days per year before you are issued a residence card? The 7 days requirement is when you have the residence card valid for 2 years. During that period, you need to come to Portugal 7 days. And these requirements are needed to be able to renew the residence card, not for the issuance of the residence card, but only in the phase of renewal. I have here plenty of questions. It's very hard to answer all of them. For the ones that I was not able to reply, I'm happy to reply by email if you want. And I have to close this webinar. But thank you very much for joining this webinar, and good afternoon. I'll be delighted to assist you if you need, and also Seek advice for your lawyers, because I know that the most part of you have for sure very good lawyers, and the understanding could be different from mine, and they have plenty access of your concrete case. So the advice could be more accurate. I'm just giving a general explanation, and according to my experience, and I understand this is a very difficult situation for the most part of you, huge challenge, but we will do our best to try to mitigate the risks, and to give you our better advice to try to overcome any challenges. So thank you very much, and good afternoon, and have a nice weekend.